Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Hello, Ginny. Welcome. Nice to be back.
It's always nice to be back, Sarah, and we've always got something to chat about, haven't we?
Well, I don't think there's ever a time when there's nothing to say when the two of us are in a room together. So what have you been up to? What's been happening recently?
So I've been really trying to focus on using my time effectively. And I think we all kind of do this, but I'm trying to break it down into kind of what are my distractions? You know, what are my big distractions and how can I limit them? So I've just moved office in one of my schools, and I realized that my previous office, something that stopped me getting distracted was a thing that you get in a caravan, a magnetic net screen. So it meant I could have the door open and that people could see that I'm working with my headphones on. That's another way I don't get distracted, because I wear headphones all the time, Sarah, because I'll come on to that in a minute. But it's like a little mesh, it's not a net, it's a mesh. So people can look in, they can see that I'm busy, and then I am left alone. Because I've found with my new office, people will knock on the door, they will then open the door, and then that becomes a dialogue, it becomes a connection. But actually, I might be on a meeting, I might be doing something that is confidential. So I realized how much I used it when I moved office. So I've just bought myself another one, and it magnetizes together. And so I can have the door open, it lets in more light, then it has little ties back, so it can also tie back. And then the other thing is, I could not live without my headphones, Sarah, because my headphones keep me focused when I'm doing lots of SEM paperwork. I listen to different genres of music, depending, relaxing, or if I'm really finding it hard, some upbeat music. Then in the same way, I have a beautiful distraction in my office now, the most wonderful distraction in the world. I have the most beautiful view, Sarah, of early years children playing. And it reminds me of when I was very fortunate. I went to Finland and the children were playing. They are oblivious. It is like a human screensaver. So, you know, that's where I'm at. It's about acknowledging my distractions and making myself more efficient while still having that joy of seeing children, really.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to check out those screens. I'm loving that. You have to send me the link.
I will.
I'll have a little look. Wonderful. Well, that's really interesting, because often these things, we know what the segments are going to be, but we don't tend to sort of try and tie things up. And actually mine has been about distractions and has been about trying to be more effective with my time, because I've got to write a second book. And so that's great. You know, it's lovely to have that. And I've got some wonderful contributions from people. I've got some fabulous case studies. I've got some fabulous chapters. And Claire and I just need to actually sit down and try and pull it all together. And then also to write the kind of thread that runs through that. So in terms of how do you do that, we've had lots of conversations around sticking stuff up on walls, having all of the information that we've got, just so we can see a flow, all of these things. But basically what it's made me really realize is that how on earth do we scaffold that whole process for myself? And I think that's that whole thing around the blank page. I've sat down on many occasions, opened up a page and done nothing. And when we look at what's happening in our classrooms, loads of my focus this year is going to be around training to support inclusive writing. We've got the writing framework now. We've got all of these kind of expectations about writing. But it comes back to, again, as with reading, where do we start? It can be a huge barrier. It can be a huge thing for our learners. and especially those learners that struggle. So actually, in terms of inclusive writing approaches, what does that look like? How can we simplify all of this stuff that we have? I think you mentioned on one podcast something, about TikTok things or, Instagram reels, that we've got some amazing ideas being shown to us, and actually, how do we pull the bits from that and use the things that are going to make a difference? So for me, yeah, actually, it's about what are the fundamentals of that kind of universal provision, and for myself, in terms of writing, that will help me. And I've just discovered putting a chapter heading or putting the chapter kind of abstract on a page and having all of those pages printed out is my thing that's going to help me. And then I'm writing little notes underneath the chapters.
It's really interesting because when I wrote my book, when I wrote my book, the wonderful Ian Gilbert, he said to me, write everything, like type everything up, and we refer to them as sneezes. And I think when you're writing a book, it can be a bit sneezy, can't it? And then he said, and then we'll order it. So really interesting about not being distracted. I printed them all out, Sarah. Then I went to like a local golf club that has a beautiful view of the golf course. And I took all of these pieces of paper, all cut out. I was just there by myself. I had a blank book and I had washi tape, the colored tape that's like masking tape. And I put all of the different sneezes out on the table. And like you, I did headings on pages, and then I just got them and I stuck them where I thought they would go, but because it was washi tape, I could unstick it. And then I
Washi.
revisited it.
Yeah.
Washi tape. I think it's Japanese in origin. Beautiful patterned tape that is repositionable. But what I loved was, we talk about this, it was active. Because someone said to me, well, it was at the book launch, why didn't you just copy and paste? And I was like, nah, I needed to physically have them all printed out. I needed to move them around on a table. I needed to be able to stick them down, but be able to take them back off again and reposition them. And I've still got that. I still have got that book, but that was really important in the whole
Yeah.
process.
The process.
Otherwise, it can be very, working at a computer, I found, could be very flat and it could end up being quite passive. So I absolutely get what you're talking about this idea of is too much. Things are just too much. And it's like, how can I break it down? I think it's really interesting that you were working with Claire on this as well, because you also have to come to that commonality about how are we going to do this? Because I sorted it out generally by myself because I was the person who wrote the book. Alongside ITL and Crown House, they were amazing at editing and supporting me. But I could just go to that, and I went to the golf course. And I think that's important as well, Sarah. I think it's where you are.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't work in my office, so I go somewhere else. The other day, I'm very fortunate, I have a narrowboat. I used the narrowboat as an office and I was literally hemmed in. But that hemming in, people go on retreat, people go away to write books and they immerse themselves, because then you haven't got, let's get back to distractions actually. You've
Yeah.
got the focus. And also I think it's about timetabling it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And interesting, because I remember when I was starting out as an author, Mary Myatt gave me a really important bit of advice and said, turn notifications off on everything, on your computer, on your iPhone, on everything. And she said, if you're doing important, deeper work and deeper thinking, actually, and actually, I need to do that more anyway, because what you're doing is having to be disturbed by somebody else's priorities or somebody else's time. And I find that very hard to do, because it's like, oh, I just want to see. But actually, that, as when someone opens your door, when someone comes in, when that thing and that little notification that just always now gives you a summary of what it is, you kind of go, oh, and straight away, that's how our brains work. It's that survival mode. Oh, is that really something I have to attend to?
Yes.
And it takes that away from what you're attending to. So
There is research that actually, when you are interrupted, the time it takes for you to get back on track is so time consuming. I mean, I've taken to putting my phone on airplane mode. I like to listen to music, but now I have that on my laptop rather than on my phone. So I'm doing it all through my laptop because the distraction of messages pinging. I've been reading all about this. You know, we are becoming peoples who are, oh, it's that, what am I missing out on? Oh, I better answer that. And actually, it's about owning it, isn't it? And going, actually, you know, I am becoming better at this, putting my headphones on and going, right, I have to do this paperwork. I am going to sit until I get this paperwork done. And irritatingly, it doesn't take as long as we think. And I love this saying of people say, squash the frog. Have you heard that? So squash the frog, you know, that thing that you've put off, that is the
Yeah, yeah,
frog.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
they say, just
Do it.
make yourself do that one. And then you're a bit like, oh, hello, get me. I got that done. And it wasn't that bad.
Just write the title. Just write the word. Just do the thing. And that's what I've started to do. But I think the reason we've got better at that, Ginny, is because we have to. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. We have to. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
would be drowning and probably like you.
I mean,
And you would
yeah.
know it works.
Yeah. 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 It all comes back to systems and efficiency, doesn't it? Because when we can get that, when we
Yeah.
can try, let's say, Sarah, when we can try
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do that, I do feel that I can switch off more because I'm like, right, and I'm going, and I put things in my electronic diary as well. Right, this is what I'm going to achieve today, and I've and it has to be manageable.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I think all of this, because whenever I'm sort of training, I'm always like, self-reflection is the start of making what we're doing for our young people better. Because once we own the things that work for us and we understand why they work for us and we understand how others have helped us or how we've understood how they work, then it's how you can support learners to do that. It's not good. You know, this is an iPad. You can use that for longer bits of writing. Well, why? You know, what is it that this is why is this meaningful? And again, it comes back to that. It's got to be, you know, I've got to know why that works. And actually, the fact that you turn your notifications off or you put it on airplane mode, you've had experience and success with that. And that's the key. You've seen it make a difference. If it didn't make a difference, you wouldn't bother doing it.
and everyone is different. You know, I realize now if I'm doing some freelance work at home, the house has to be tidy in order that I can get on. Otherwise that is niggling at me all the time. So I'm like, right, actually an hour doing things in the house and like just that tidies my mind, Sarah.
Honestly, and it's Ginny, I mean, you know, there's lots of reasons why you and I get on so well, but one of the big things is that's me. If there's anything in my eye line, but it doesn't have to be in my eye line, I can know that in the kitchen it's a mess,
Yeah.
and that disturbs me.
Yes.
Now, some of our young people, that's going to be the case with things and it might
Yes.
not physical mess, it might be something else that's a mess. And you know, gosh, just really on that, we're going off a little bit, but like this morning for my son, it was the fact that it was about the times that we do things, and he's quite rigid with the times. And sometimes I think, oh, it's great, it's gone a bit more flexible, and it hasn't. And actually, we've wasted these 5 minutes that are really important 5 minutes because it means the next thing's delayed, which means and so he just threw everything up in the air this morning and said, it's all ruined now. And I said, no, it's not. We can do this. We can do that. And he goes, we've missed out the time that I use when we normally sort my shoes out. And it was like, gosh, because in his head, that's messy. So it's not really anything physical because we could do something about it. We could shave off some time at other things to do the bits we need to. And then you have a whole massive like explosion of emotion, which takes time. And you
Yeah.
know that's going to take time. You've got to go through the stages of that regulation. And that's for our young people. It's that remembering about how everything impacts on how they then see the next thing that's going to happen. Because as soon as that anxiety comes in, as soon as that worry comes in or untidiness, it impacts on everything.
Yep.
So
Gosh.
there you go. A lot within that. What have you been up to, Ginny, really quickly then, before we move on to our wows?
Just, I think, like I was saying, just being a bit more realistic, being
Yeah.
realistic about my time, being realistic what I can achieve as a Senko of 4 schools in 3 days a week, diarising, but not for this week or next week, but actually putting meetings in 2 weeks' time. And as my wonderful father would say, calming the job down, Sarah. Just going act and sorting out my new office, which is really important. That is really important, that we get our environment, kind of right for us. So it comes back to you saying about you writing your book. The environments where we are doing our work need to be inviting to us. And I can see in the background all your lovely things and things that are special to us, whether we're in an office or whether we're in the classroom. Very much about that, Sarah, about just making our environments places where we all want to be.
Wonderful. And in terms of your wow moments from that then, Ginny, is there anything particular? I mean, you've mentioned quite a few things that you sort of think, oh gosh, that really impacted.
Yeah,
Share my one, Ginny.
yeah, yeah.
Just really in the writing process, gathering all the information from everybody else, the case studies and the chapters. Wow. How much knowledge is there out there? How much fabulous work is happening? And is there enough time to celebrate that? I just can see how much time and effort we're taking around so many different ways of improving, and particularly this is around inclusive writing. And actually, one of the biggest things was where people are looking at we're doing a lot of assessment now, within education, but looking at that as a bridge to the next steps to what we can support this learner with in terms of barriers. Sometimes it can be a barrier itself. They're not ready for this bit of writing because they can't do this.
Yes.
Actually, this is what they can do. Let's bridge and use that as a foundation to move them forward. Don't keep them working on holding their pencil or, doing the shapes of their letters. Let's get them into the creative writing as to why they want to hold their pencil and write something wonderful and why they want to understand how to kind of, create and shape the letters, spell their words, because it'll enable them to communicate these wonderful things. So I think that for me was that importance of valuing and getting that chance for people to show you and tell you all of the stuff they're doing now and their ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's about inadvertent stagnation, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
I
the
made that
pressure
up.
of time. Yeah, I love it. A pressure of time. Right. So come on, let's move this on thinking around the book. Have
Book.
you book that you would
Yeah,
like
I've got
to yeah.
I've got a really fascinating book, and it's called Boddington Memories, and it is a book about the village where I was the head teacher for 5 years, and I'm still part of that community. And so they asked to interview me alongside all different members of the community, and it's a celebration of 25 years of the village. And once again, it sends shivers down me because it shows how community has remained so important and so at the center of everything, and yet things have changed. Like, we haven't got the village shop anymore, we haven't got the post office, but what the village have done is they have gone, okay, we haven't got that, but what can we do to keep the village at the centre? So then they now have the post office in the village hall. Every Friday they now have cakes, and the community all come together. And it's just I don't know, it community is so important to me. And I've been part of that community now for 20 years as a head and now as a Senko of their school. So it's very close to my heart, and it's just a great celebration. And the interviews are with members of the community, the families, the elders, the children, and it's all been transcribed in the book. And it's fascinating about what children remember about school, and they don't, unfortunately or fortunately, they don't remember English and maths. They remember you going to the field. They remember the Jubilee celebrations. They remember the things that have brought them joy.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to hold on to as well. And actually capturing that as, within a book in that way is wonderful. And all those people as well, that's going to be a meaningful representation of
Yes.
that time and that community. And
Yeah.
I love that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've got one that's not quite as kind of memorable in that way, but it is it was a book actually that I was recommended to read by one of our editors looking at thinking about literacy and thinking about our book that we're writing, Claire and myself. So
Yeah.
Claire and I both have it. And
Oh.
initially we both started reading it and then put it down because we became a bit intimidated by how fabulous it was. And in terms of what we were trying to write within our book. And it made me really think, wow, look at those barriers of how something given to you to inspire can actually become something that makes you go, oh, I can't do it, which for our learners, it happens all the time. But yes, so we've got emerging literacy, and
Oh.
it's unlocking instruction for every child. And it is, yeah, Costello and Pickering and Cook. And it is just amazing, full of really practical understanding about literacy development. It talks all around the foundational skills, talks about working memory. It talks about just so much in detail, even thinking about like sit here. Oh gosh, I've got to work out my camera. Sequence and narrative, and just some of the stuff that we take for granted about how we are supporting young people, but without that background knowledge. And again, it's time to read this. It's having the time to do that, but even something you can dip into. It puts some of the theory behind what we do. And I
Brilliant.
think sometimes
Like that.
anything we can do there, pull things out. But yeah, as I said initially, I was good, like, goodness me, there's so much. And again, it's then what do you do to break it down? Make it accessible, just giving that to your staff in a staff room, if that's not going to work, but maybe as a Senko, it's pulling out some of the salient parts of it. And just then giving the kind of hints and tips. Maybe this is our book for this half term that we, as a school, we've got our focus on, and we're going to pull out hints and tips from it. Yeah. But I mean, there's so much out there, but that I say again, an interesting read, Ginny.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I'm gonna throw my song in if that's all right.
Let's go for it.
I want to sing it, but I don't think the world really needs me to sing it. It is. Oh, I'm just saying. What is it? It is. I don't know the title actually, but it's Billy Ocean, When the Going Gets Tough.
Nice. Don't, because I will sing that.
Yeah, and the bit of dancing and all that. And I think the lyrics, I would climb any mountain, I would do anything. It goes back to parents who often have such a struggle with regard to special needs because the messages they are getting are very mixed from different people. And I just think we always have to have the forefront of our mind the struggles that parents have as they go on that pathway with their children with regard to special need, them coming into school, them changing schools. The decisions that parents have to make about their children are so huge, and they come to school for a listening ear, they come for reassurance, and actually they come for honesty, and I think it's just about having those conversations over a cup of tea to be able to have that. I talk about kind of squashing the hierarchy, that actually, what do you think? What do you think? It just becomes that conversation between people who care about that individual. So that's my song. What is your song?
I love that. Well, because I've been thinking a lot about bridges and I've been thinking a lot about how we can use it to help. It's Bridge Over Troubled Water. And again, when you think about some of the lyrics and you look at the kind of, again, it's quite interesting, some of the story behind some of the lyrics, but actually it's that kind of role of how we bridge those troubled waters. And actually it really links in with your song as well, and the whole thing around parents and carers, because it's tough. It's really tough. And there's changes all everywhere, embedded into everything about, how the language that's going to be used. We know all of this around, EHCPs, but actually changing to just maybe being education health plans, education plans, how that's going to work and what the difference that's going to make. And often conversations are just, in school, we often, and again, I'm a parent, and a parent currently dealing with some quite complex issues of, is it going to be a welcoming kind of conversation? Are we going to all just, as you said, I love that. This is a child we all care about. We all want to make a difference for. And if we can put that out first, lay that out on the table as the foundation, and then look at it from that perspective, actually, we can then bridge to what's needed. And then
And
actually, yeah,
And you'll love this, because I do firmly believe that what this is all metaphoric, but I believe what we're giving all of the individuals who care about that child, we have the child in the middle, and it's a patchwork blanket of care. And all of those patchwork pieces have to be sewn together. When they're not sewn together, or when they fray, that's when the individual child can suffer, because they're not all sewn together. That's very deep, isn't it, Sarah?
it's very deep. I'm loving that. And so, I mean, we've covered quite a few different things within this episode. In terms of takeaways, what are we going to want to kind of take people to take away from this?
I think I think it's about squashing the frog, about maybe doing the thing that you've put off. Something that I've used this week more than ever is using, you'll know this, Sarah, if I have a very long document that I have to read, so it can't be summarized, I get Word to read it to me, and I listen to it through my headphones, because I will internalize it better. I had to read some paperwork that was 47 pages long, and I'll tell you now, I internalized it far better by I made sure it was in Word, and then got it to read it out loud to me. So that, and I felt that was a good use of my time, and I could internalize it. So I think it's about find those little things that suit you. And I think it's really important that they suit the individual, not you must do this, but actually just find those little things, be it headphones, be it a caravan curtain, be it listening to a Word document or whatever, but just kind of, if we invest in finding those things, they will save us time. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I love that. It's that whole personalization of the skills and the strategies that we're using. And actually, interestingly, because I'm trying out a few programs that have got speech to text, and actually or text to speech. Actually, the one I was looking at has got the different voices. And so one of them was Snoop Dogg. I could have had it in Snoop Dogg reading it, but I chose Gwyneth Paltrow. And it was really interesting again, because it is about the voice. It's about the speed of the voice. It's about, so you can vary all of those little aspects of it with an immersive reader, within any of those kind of tools. And yeah, getting it read to you. And Ginny, if it's something you want to learn, the research is really, really strong that if you record it in your own voice and read the stuff yourself and then listen back to it on your headphones, your brain prioritizes that information.
Whoa, you've
So if
blown my
you
mind.
something you need to, so if you wanted to make that even more powerful in terms of that, you could read that document out loud to yourself, record yourself,
Yes.
which again, it means you've read it twice. And then it's recorded, and then on your dog walk, listen back to it. The
Love
deeper
it.
learning that will happen.
Love it. Oh, Sarah, another gem.
Yeah,
Another gem.
another gem to end on, Ginny.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I come away knowing so much more than I did when I began our conversation. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. And as we say, always a pleasure.
Never a chore.
Never a chore. Okay,
Never a
bye for now, Sarah.
See you next time, Ginny. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.